So all of his infidelity has come to light, and you're trying to decide whether you should stay or you should go. And the question is, if you choose to stay, aren't you teaching your children that it's okay to tolerate this treatment by staying with a man who's hurt you so deeply? It's a really good question, and I'd like to talk about it today. The short answer to this question is my kids were able to see what a strong woman looks like when she chooses to stay by loving herself and setting boundaries, by choosing to forgive and not hold on to hate, by giving someone the opportunity to grow and to prove themselves because maybe their past trauma was never dealt with. And so maybe they need that grace and that room to process all of that to become a better individual and human being, because they brought lies into that relationship years and years ago before they even met you. And they've been very good at hiding all of that from their parents, from their friends, from everyone around them up into this point. And so you are the person who gets to decide, am I going to crucify this person? Or if they're truly repentant, am I going to give them an opportunity to change this bad behavior and to hold them to that and to keep them accountable to that? So my kids got to see this version of myself, and I got to witness this version of myself, which was pretty cool. From there, my kids were able to see what it meant to go to therapy and to build a home that is truly loving, with unconditional love, with peace now in our home, and trust rebuilt and intimacy rebuilt. And my husband and I have become such completely different parents to our kids. So we have created an environment where our children now feel emotionally safe because we have become emotionally stable and safe people, individuals, and for each other ourselves, which we then have been able to reciprocate and give to our children. Now, am I saying that divorce is bad or that staying is the way to go? I'd like to dive into this a little deeper. Before the affairs and infidelity came out, I always said that if my partner ever cheats on me, I'm leaving. And a lot of us believe that until it actually happens. And the day that it happens, it's so much more complicated because you actually love this person. I think in our minds rationally, we think if this person were to cheat, I would be done, because you're able to disconnect that love and you're able to cut off your heart from that person. But the truth of the matter is if you've built an entire life with someone for at least a decade, maybe shorter than that, but if you've built a life with someone, you have kids, you've got memories and Christmases and birthdays and so much intimacy attached with that person, your soul is connected to that person. It's not so black and white and cut and dry. You love that person, and suddenly we wake up one day. It's like, imagine having Christmas as a family, and you're all unwrapping presents and you're loving each other and you're talking about next year's travel plans and what all your wonderful bucket list things that you're going to do the next day are. And suddenly you wake up and you find out that your partner is handing you divorce papers and like, hey, I'm done with the relationship. I've been unhappy this entire time. It would blindside you. It's like, what do you mean you've been unhappy this entire time? I've thought we were great. We just had Christmas. What are you talking about? That's what it's like when infidelity happens in your marriage. One minute you go from being happy to the next minute realizing that your partner has been so unhappy with the relationship that he's felt the need to keep all of his feelings and his vulnerability quiet and to go deal with it by having an affair. And that's why it's called a painkiller. There are emotional root things that are going on in the relationship, whether a man chooses to cheat or a woman chooses to cheat. It all comes down to a painkiller. So here's the deal. Once the cheating has been exposed, and once you're able to identify what is going on and what kind of affair it is, and et cetera, you set boundaries. You set boundaries on what do you expect from that individual. If you choose to stay, the boundary of you're going to go get help. We are going to go do therapy. You're going to have an accountability partner. There's going to be transparency and honesty in this relationship. There are things and behaviors I will not tolerate anymore because trust has been broken. There's a lot of steps you have to take in order to rebuild that marriage because the old one has died and a new one has to be rebuilt. If that person chooses not to do that work, that is when it becomes dangerous for you and your children. That is when you have to reevaluate if it's time to go. Because if someone is going to continually abuse you in front of the children, that's not a happy and harmonious home. That's a dangerous home. And so that's where you have to decide. I think it's best now at this point for us to divorce than to stay.